Serious. What's the most paranormal thing that's ever happened to you? My dad used to tell me about his time in the army, and how they would go out bush for training, and would see these moving floating lights. Sometimes that would chase them and try to corner them, but then they would disappear before people could get too close. My dad likes to tell stories, so I just filed it away in my mind. Years later, after high school, I was studying a certificate, and one of my lecturers started talking about his time in the army, and how they would go out bush and chase these moving floating lights. I nearly lost my shit. They are called minutes lights if anyone is interested. We're at a very small restaurant in the basement of a 16th century Amsterdam canal house, and there was a single lit candle on the table. In the middle of eating, the candlestick and its base flies off our table onto the floor, as if someone had knocked it very hard with their hand. The waitress turns around and asks if we did that, and we say no. We all get very creeped out and nervously laugh. Food was great, though. I didn't anything like this ever nor believe in it, but there was this one time. There a cabinet near the top of my staircase, and I had placed my water bottle on it, not on the edge but in the middle, where in no way would it be able to fall off on its own or due to any breeze. I'm sitting on the couch, which is a couple feet away from the cabinet, and the water bottle simply flies off the cabinet like someone sucker punched it and goes flying down the staircase. I was home alone. It was 1 a.m. and I have no clue why it happened. Don't want to think about it. I just keep living my life. I was in the air, about 1 foot from the ceiling. I stood there shocked and it just fell back down onto the bed. To this day I wonder what the fuck I saw. I too believing in ghosts, but I once saw a mist on my chair that kind of vaguely looked like my deceased pop up just casually rocking in the chair. When I told my mom about this, she had told me a story that took place about 25 or so years prior. She had the record player, knowing mom it was probably Bob Dylan or Fleetwood Mac, in her room rather loud, and her mother told her from the other room to turn it down a little. My mother responded yes mom to her mom, but she realized that her mom had been dead for a year or two. My mom, who is slightly religious, but does not believe in the local church, there was a priest that had raped a nun, says that her parents still look after us from the grave. If her parents do, that is rather kind of them. We're moving to a new city. My mother and I were looking at new houses. After a long day of going house to house, we found one that my mom and I instantly fell in love with. When it was time to go into one of the last rooms, we all walked in, and I remember walking into this small pale blue room and getting this weird feeling throughout my body and had to run outside and throw up. My mom and realtor followed, and that's when she asked how we knew what happened, and then my mom confused said knew what, and then she told my mom that someone had just recently died in that room. I still have dreams about that room. Of my nightstand. I was woken up by it buzzing, and when I went to grab it, it fell off the stand. I reached down with only my head and torso off bed to grab it. All I heard was the word night in my right ear. Maybe 10. I was at one of my friend's houses. I used to be good friends with her, and I needed to go to the bathroom. I got in there and I saw a hand reach out from behind the shower curtain. I looked behind it and her cat was there. It wasn't a cat paw I saw though. It was a full-on human hand with no human behind it. I don't think I've experienced anything as scary as that. I was at a friend's house sleeping over. Her house was built in the 1800s and my town is pretty old as well anyways. We already knew there were ghosts in the house, but I personally at that point didn't see anything there. We were in the basement, which was her one grandma's room. It was a kinda big house and a lot of her family lived with her. And we were chilling out watching a movie when out of nowhere a rocking recliner starts violently rocking and the laundry basket on it falls over, then stops suddenly. Which is weird because there's no windows and the chair would have at least rocked a little until it came to a stop. But it just froze. Her grandma was very calm and said that stuff just happens, and that honestly was so cool. It didn't help me sleep at night though. And X200B. So I was in the house of my religious grandparents when my little brother suddenly started bleeding, and he said that it felt like a nail. We were alone, so I helped him out. 20 minutes later, I needed to charge my phone, so I went to my room, just to see the hand puppet of my brother. Our uncle made one to each of us, with a nail on his nose.